Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good whatever time of the day you are in your time zone, people. Happy Thursday, September 25th. Oh my gosh, fall is already here. We're here with our good friend, Mr. Ryan Seymour from Connect Secure. And yes, it is just the two of us. I don't know about you, but I guess Brian's getting his kilt on somewhere over in the Scottish Highlands on a boat someplace, and good for him. So you're blessed with myself, Tim Golden, and Mr. Ryan. Ryan, how are you today?
Doing good, Tim. Doing good. Yeah, no Brian today. I'd rather be on a boat somewhere in whatever area too. That sounds like fun to me.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. It's kind of rainy here today in New Hampshire. So maybe we are getting them Scotland vibes, with the whole rain here. We're kind of on a similar parallel, I guess, if I think of like where Scotland is parallel across the horizon. I don't
yeah,
know. But I know it's probably pretty warm down there in Florida these days, right?
yeah, but unfortunately, I am here in Southeast Michigan, in my
That's true.
home
I keep
office here.
keep forgetting.
I'm not in the Tampa Bay office just yet, but yeah, I'm sure it's nice and warm and toasty. But right now, here in Southeast Michigan, we are in that transition period between summer and fall, and it's actually very pleasant here in Michigan at the time. It's not a lot of rain around, nice cool days, and of course, we get lots of really great color changes here in Michigan. The trees and the color changes here are, I would say, second to nowhere in the country, especially if you've ever been to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It's a really beautiful sight to see. So no, I'm cool with fall. I saw someone
Mhm.
mention football too. Football
Yeah,
season is in full swing here
it
in the
is.
Motor City. So yes, Michigan and Detroit Lions fan. Just full disclosure, I am a Michigan guy. So
Awesome.
happy to be here, man.
So, speaking of Michigan, my wife and family, big Michigan fans. As you know, I'm from New England, Patriots, but Tom Brady, Michigan, right?
That's right.
Huge fans of Michigan State down there. And Brett, yes, I know, go Bucks. Football, coffee, and compliance. Thanks, Brett, for joining us here today. Mr. Ryan, let's do the little introduction. Say hello, and how are you?
Yeah, so Ryan Seymour, VP Consulting Education at Connextic here. Been serving the MSP space for about 20 years professionally now. So, here to talk cyber risk, help organizations get into the cybersecurity business. Connect Secure is a great entry point for organizations that are serious about cybersecurity, or maybe they're confused about cybersecurity. But we are here to help organizations in those areas. So, really happy to be here with you guys, Tim. Yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome, Ryan. Thank you so much. I suppose I should do my little dog and pony too. Hey, everybody, Tim Golden, founder and CEO of Compliance Scorecard, where we help you, the MSP, have that risk conversation with your customer. Whether you're doing risk assessments, whether you're doing policies and procedures, we are the on ramp for your cybersecurity journey, where we help you and your customers build that defensibility in your compliance and risk program. We're really excited today to dive into this vulnerability meets compliance and have that conversation where both Connect Secure and Compliance Scorecard bridge that gap together so that you can build defensibility in your customers and have that risk conversation better together. All right. Now that that's out of the way, hey, isn't something happening in a couple of days? Like almost like 17 days or so?
Yeah. Well, we got Cyber Bay coming up, so
Cyber
uh,
Bay. What is
the
that all?
inaugural event, man. Cyber Bay is. I'm super excited about it. We are helping spearhead some of this as one of the sponsors at this event. This is the first event we're doing, dubbing Tampa Bay as Cyber Bay. Really
Mm,
bringing together the industry, academia, defense, the government, the military. I mean, it doesn't matter where you serve. We are bringing together experts from all walks of industry So yeah, a couple weeks out, man. I'm super excited. They got us on the lineup. I'll have a breakout session actually at Cyber Bay. So I will be running a session on securing our digital borders.
Wait,
And
who's this dude?
hey, yeah, they even got my old mugshot on the site. So yeah,
Wait, I
we're
know this
excited for
dude
Cyber
too.
Bay, man.
I know this dude too. Wes Spencer, John Strand.
There
They
you
got
go.
some guy by the name of Ryan Seymour. Wait a minute. Some awesome guy named Arnie Bellini. Like, there's a pretty big lineup here, right? I think I
Yeah.
know a few of these. Peter, right? Like, oh, Sanju. Like, isn't this the guy that made the cyber defense matrix?
That's the
Like,
author and founder of the Cyber Defense Matrix,
wait a
Sunil. Yeah,
minute,
we're excited. I'm
I gotta
always
bump
love
this
hearing
up,
Sunil talk. He's done
right?
another masterful piece on AI governance, which I'm sure you loved him. So,
Of
uh,
course, of
really
course.
happy and shout out to the retired Frank McKenzie, General McKenzie. General McKenzie has been really avid with the MSP communities, and we're very grateful to get some of his graces there. So super excited, man. There is a killer lineup here.
I mean, Danny from Threat Locker, who doesn't love Threat Locker, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
This is a pretty big lineup here, right? I think I know a lot of these people, right? And then obviously we gotta thank the sponsors, right? Because without them, Connect Secure, Threat Locker, our good friends CyberFox, yeah, I know we'll be there too. But yeah, Connect Secure, all of them, right? We got to be able to thank those people as
Yeah,
well.
and I would also just call out Cyber Florida. They're not really badged up here for marketing sense, but Cyber Florida has been integral on the back end of the logistics, the marketing, the planning, and they've really helped pull this event together. So shout out to Cyber Florida for all the work they've done. If anyone's familiar with their organization, uh, really great group, doing some really great work in the Tampa Bay, in the Cyber Bay area. So super excited, man, to kick this off inaugural event here coming up like 2 weeks out, Tim. 2 weeks.
2 weeks. I mean, the agenda looks pretty good, right? Cybersecurity, national security, defense in depth. Like the event, I'm going to bump this back down a little bit. Looks like a pretty great agenda as well. So for those of you MSPs, the industrial center, all that fun stuff, like 17 days away. Better get your tickets. Be there, be square. It looks like a really great event. We'll be there. Connect Secure, obviously a bunch of great lineups. So, all right, let's dive into today's session where vulnerability meets GRC. Obviously, the two of us, both in our wheelhouse. Ryan, so I know one of the things that we wanted to talk a little bit about here is, vulnerability kind of lives in the IT side, where GRC kind of lives in the governance side. And I kind of let you talk a little bit about your wheelhouse, which is obviously the vulnerability side. I'll talk a little bit about the compliance side. Where do you see, some of the challenges that MSPs face when they talk about the vulnerability side? We'll get into CIS a little bit later in Control 7, but where do you see the biggest challenge on the vulnerability side?
Yeah, so I think the challenge has really been around. It's not so much the tools, right? So I want to kind of precursor this answer with MSPs are really great at the tool stacks, right? We've got our scanners, we've got our tools. Doesn't matter what you're using. Vulnerability is a vulnerability, right? We all generally use the same threat intelligence. We're looking at the NVDs, we're looking at the CVE database, we're using Microsoft's, Research Center, Cisco and Fortinet and Palo Alto put out some awesome threat intel. There's tons of organizations we could talk about. I think that the issue really stems in translating all of that cyber risk to the business, to the outcome for the business. And if it's not a business, then the organization, because some of us aren't supporting businesses, right? We have the education sector, we've got nonprofits and other unique areas. But again, translating cybersecurity risks, which are in the vulnerability data, translating it over to the business outcomes and to the mission outcomes, and how is it impacting those things? I think that's where the challenge lies right now. And I think I'm laser focused on that. The tech, the scanning, the best practices, the compliance, the frameworks. We've got tons of really great products and resources where all that can be mapped out. Where we're all missing that mark is every vulnerability is an opportunity to have those business risk conversations with your customers.
Yeah.
So I think that's where my mind goes to when I think about the challenge.
Yeah, when we think about it, right? The ones and zeros, the blinky lights, being a tech myself for decades, I tend to dive into that like, ooh, I can click buttons and fix stuff and check things off a list. And that's all really good. But when I sit in front of the business owner and I'm like, oh my gosh, I found this thing. You have a Windows Millennium computer and it's running that multi-million-dollar CNC lathe. We got to rip that out and replace it because it's vulnerable. And the business owner looks at me and is like, no, I can't replace that because that's the only thing that can run that multi-million-dollar lathe, and that lathe runs my entire business. I can't just rip and replace a $5 million CNC machine at the drop of a hat. It just doesn't work that way in real life business, right? And so we tech geeks were like, yeah, but I can just make it a VM and blah, blah, blah. And I could do all the clicky buttons and the blinky lights and the thingies. And what the business owner hears is Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. Like, no, we need to be able to get better at translating that into business talk, into the ROI, into the, hey, you know what? We did find a gap. We found something. There are ways to mitigate that. But the business impact around that is, we're not going to let you lose multi-million-dollar contracts. We're not going to let you replace multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment. We can put some mitigating things in place and look at that impact. You mentioned business impact analysis, right? I don't think a lot of MSPs do BIAs and understand a BIA and the downtime, the components, and the cost analysis around that. As an MSP, understanding cost benefit analysis, right? Understanding those financial components. Like, we're not business people. We're not finance people. We're blinky light people. Mm-hmm. We're clicking buttons people. We're technical people. And this is where, for us to start to be us, the MSP, for us to start to become well-rounded business people, to understand some of those financial operations, to understand those business operations, right? It's hard for us. Like, heck, maybe we need to go back to college and learn some of those things. I don't know, take a couple courses or bring in an expert. This is where peer groups are really helpful. I'm going to divert here for a quick second. Ryan, this, we've been running peer groups here at Compliance Scorecard since about 2016. And, I recognize I don't know everything there is to know about finance. So what did I do? I brought in a CFO for September to teach our peer group all about business finance, all about cost of goods. Like, if you don't know the information, go talk to somebody who does. You don't understand business impact analysis and looking at your scanning data and your vulnerability data, go talk to Ryan, right? Go bring somebody in from Connect Secure that understands that and can talk to business impact analysis. You don't understand where compliance and regulations and laws come in? Pick up the phone and give me a call. I'm happy to answer some of those questions. When you're looking at the vulnerability, meeting compliance, there's experts like us, like Connect Secure, happy to have those conversations with you. All right, enough of that soapbox. As we start to dive a little deeper, having the business conversation around the vulnerability component, and then as compliance starts to come in, you're a DoD contractor, you have the $5 million lathe that makes the barrel for the howitzer running Windows Millennium. It's in scope. Now what?
Yeah. CMMC is a hot topic too. So we see some stuff coming down the pipe here probably this year. So that's a hot topic, man. And you start where vulnerability data starts meeting compliance, things start getting complicated in a hurry, right? I think the vulnerability stuff's already complicated enough when you're dealing with customers and risk and trying to translate everything. But then you have to switch your hats and put a new hat on. And now you have to start thinking again, kind of more technical as we start to look across how do I make a crosswalk table so that I can show where vulnerability data is meeting compliance and where compliance is meeting controls, and things start to get really hairy. So I agree. You lean in on your experts. You don't make this complicated. It doesn't have to be. I think there's some very easy entry points into compliance, into safeguards, into controls, into that entire world. And to me, vulnerability management is one of those really easy entry points, to get into that space. But then I think you have to look at integration to GRC, right? I think the MSPs that are really successful that I've seen do vulnerability management programs that meet compliance, they are always integrated, right? They take that vulnerability data and they send it to their GRC. They get it into the GRC, and the GRC starts to enrich that data, right? And from there, you can really take it where it needs to go, because vulnerability management is not compliance, right? And so what we do want to do is be the engine that gives the GRC, the platform, some of that data. So I can think that's kind of my view of that is, I'm always a big promoter of integrations. Obviously, you need to have your vulnerability data needs to be integrated, right? And it needs to be continuous. I think those are the two very important pieces. You can't be reactive in scans, right? We don't do that. We be proactive. We run scans continuously all the time. Y'all realize that the NVD has new CVEs every day, right? Every single day. I mean, if you want to learn, shout out to ChatGPT. I'm gonna give you a little diversion here. Something I do. I have taken my ChatGPT, replace that with anything, Copilot, Claude, whatever you're using. You can ask those LLMs to say, hey, I want to know what are the new vulnerabilities that the NVD saw today. I ask ChatGPT that, and I actually have it feed me that data every single day. And so for those of you that do not have an API to the NVD or even know what that means, if you want to see what vulnerabilities are coming out, go ask, prompt your GPTs for it, and you will be astounded at the amount of exploits that are happening and the data that's out there. I mean, there's a lot. So I say that because, again, this needs to be a continuous motion. The entire culture needs to shift from reactive to proactive, just like we did in the shift from becoming break fix to MSPs. We now need to shift from MSP to cybersecurity professionals, because I mean that is the new war front as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. So let's talk about this in real world scenario, right? We know how much MSPs love CIS, right? Control 7, right? Actually just so happen to have it up here on the screen. What did CIS do in the recent history with 8.1? They added a new domain. And what is that domain? It is my favorite domain. The what, Brian? If you don't know it,
govern.
They added the govern domain. So when they did that, they expanded the controls and they added my favorite domain, the govern domain. And when they did, what did they do? They added this. What is that first control? Establish and maintain a vulnerability management process. Establish and maintain a documented vulnerability management process for enterprise. Let's just assume the word enterprise means company. Establish and maintain a process for assets, review, update documentation annually. In other words, find stuff, document stuff, and make sure you have a process and plan in place for dealing with vulnerability management stuff, right? Make sure you have a remediation process, and make sure you are doing things with the stuff that you find. In other words, what, Ryan? Have a plan.
Have a plan. Yeah, you said it earlier. You got to. It's the whole point of govern, right? Document. So many times I get into engagements with MSPs that are new to vulnerability management, right? They want to scan and they're new to it, and so many times I always lead with, okay, well, before we get in and configure this platform to do vol scanning, what does your policy look like? What does your SOP look like? Do you have a contract? Do you have an MSA? Do you have any language that you've told your customer you're going to be doing certain things, right? And so I always lean in on having a document, because the document is the base of the program. Once I have the document, I know how to go and build the product, build the training, build the marketing material, and go to market to my customer with it. From a technical delivery standpoint, a sales delivery standpoint, a marketing delivery standpoint, we need to be hitting on all cylinders. And if you're not, everybody here and that might be listening knows what happens when you try to launch services and those three things are not in alignment. It's chaotic. It's not scalable.
Exactly. Brett, my favorite word, P&P.
Yeah, there you go. So that's exactly right. And so I always like to say, start with a document first and then approach your tools, because your programs and policies should govern your tools. Your tools should not govern your documents. So I don't even know how you're starting without a document. It almost is like, it's like running before walking. How can you even go on the track if you don't have the map of where you're driving to? Like, it's crazy.
Sorry,
no, go ahead. I'm on a rant with that, because you hit my. That's the word. And Tim, the last thing I want to say is it's defensible. Mm-hmm. Lean in on that moment. Defensible. If you don't have a program documented, you have intentions and best efforts, and those things do not hold up.
And this is literally why Compliance Scorecard exists. It is where I have spent the last 20 years. This has been the message all along. If it's not documented, if it's not attested, if it's not accountable, A, it still exists, and B, you're still culpable. Now, the biggest part of all of this, MSPs, you're in the best position to facilitate the work, charge for the work, because you shouldn't give documents away for free, but it isn't yours to own. And this is my 2026 message. It is the second A of the govern process that we have been harping on for 2 years. It is the, Brett, put it in chat. You know what word I'm going to say. It is the authorization component. You MSPs own all the risk today. And until you get your customer to authorize and sign off that it is their document, that they authorize any policy, any procedure that they own and are responsible for and approve them, until they do that, your MSA might cover your ass a little bit, but not all of it. Mm-hmm. Start building proper documentation and facilitate that work with them, but have them sign off and authorize those documents at least annually, if not more frequently. That authorization step, having those clients own those documents, until you start doing that, you're going to keep owning all of that risk. And you're not going to, what's the word, Ryan? Build defensibility in yourself and in your customers. Because when that shit hits the fan, the first thing insurance is going to do is, where's your documentation? Yeah. And until you can prove that you have an acceptable use policy, a password policy, an incident response plan, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on, they're going to be sucking you in as an MSP. Go Google it. You'll find out the number of MSPs getting sucked into lawsuits where their MSA hasn't covered their ass. because they borrowed a template from a friend. Until you start shifting that risk back to your client, having the policies, the procedures, the governing function. Sorry, Ryan, you got me going.
It's all right. No, you're right, Tim. I think the other word that I keep thinking about is, SRM, right?
Shared responsibility matrix.
The shared responsibility matrix, again, a very well-known, proven, defensible tactic. It's so easy to deploy, and many MSPs are missing opportunities to have that conversation with their customer. Your customer does not want to talk about firewalls and networks and DNS. They don't care. If you ask them about their business, they will tell you everything. They will turn the hose on you and give you all the info. And I think that's part of our job. And those documents, those policies, the alignment, the authorization, right? Those first two steps we take, that is the moment. That's the opportunity to get to know your customer and to build relationship with the customer that goes beyond the technical service. It's the strategic advisor. It's the cyber risk advisor. It's the, hey, I'm going to talk to this guy about every move I make because he knows my business. He knows that 80% of my revenue comes from that Windows ME box sitting on CNC lathe. And that's important to me. Even though it doesn't have vulnerabilities in it, I still want to talk about it because that's important to them. And knowing that, I think, again, you don't get to get those details unless you have those conversations with your customer, because your RMM tool doesn't tell you that. My scanner won't tell you that. Your antivirus will not tell you that. You need to ask the questions, talk about the business, do the BIA, and have those policies and templates, get them authorized. I think the whole thing just makes perfect sense. It's a great plan for MSPs to just have better conversations.
And it doesn't have to be hard or scary. As we start to wind down here today, I wish we could have our full hour. Usually, we tend to run a little over. I think the challenge that we hear from a lot of MSPs, we know you want to do the right thing. It's why you got in business. It's why we love fixing computers, because we want to help people, right? We want to be able to do this thing and do what we know. Like, we're really good at ripping shit apart and put it back together. But we know we want to start having these business conversations. And here's the thing. It doesn't have to be hard, right? It doesn't have to be scary. We can sit in front of our best customer and be like, hey, can you just work with us? Right? We're probably going to get it wrong, but you know what? We want to do the right thing. Can we just tell me about your business? We want to protect you, right? We want to do the right thing. It doesn't have to be hard or scary, right? Most people love talking about their business. Just start to uncover that and just be open, honest, and transparent with them and say, hey, yeah, you know what? We got to make some money just like you. We're not here to suck the life out of you. We do need to get paid for our time. But ultimately, we just want to protect you. We want to defend you. We want to protect our digital borders, right? Bad guys are coming at us every nanosecond of the day. And we want to defend you. We want to protect you. That's why you hired us. Have that open and honest conversation with your customer. Right? Yeah, you got to pay us for our time, just like you would want to be paid for making the donut or making the howitzer or making whatever it is, the widget that you make. But let us help you protect that, right? That's what we're here for. I would imagine if you sat down with 2 or 3 of your customers that you have good relationships with and were just honest with them, like, help me figure this out along the way. Tell me about your business. We want to protect you, and be open and honest and upfront that way. They'd probably sit down and have a conversation with you and be right up front with them. Like, hey, I'm not here to nickel and dime you to death, but yeah, I probably do need to be paid for my time. But my goal isn't to suck the life out of you financially. My goal is to protect you. And if you don't want me to protect you, then maybe you shouldn't be my customer. Now, circle one last thing back. Vulnerability in GRC is not tools. It's people and process. Tools just help you get there to identify what the people and process should be talking about. Ryan, what is your key takeaway now that we're kind of wrapping up here?
Yeah, so nicely said. I'll wind off of that is, bridge the gap, right? MSPs bridge the gap between the vulnerability data and the business. How is that vulnerability reducing risk to the business? That's the challenge. Ask yourself that question every time. So bridge those gaps. Think beyond IT, right? Don't talk technical issues. Talk business with your partners. And I think that's where the shift happens from operator to advisors, right? When we do that motion. So that's a key takeaway. I would also say defensibility. Make your services defensible by having those documents, those plans, right? You need to have them. And again, you don't need to have all of them. Start with some of them. I would call out, in my mind, I'm just going to be biased here. Every MSP, you should have an MSA and a normal agreement and all that stuff. But I would really start to look beyond the MSA and start to say, do I have a vulnerability management policy? Do I have a patch management policy? Yeah, lean in here, MSPs. How many of you guys do patching out there? Do you have a patching policy? Is it documented? Goes hand in hand with the vol one. And then thirdly, you need an incident response plan. You need an incident response
on our website. You can go grab today. I built it with, well, it used to be Fifth Wall, now they're Yukon. You can go grab that off our website.
There, yeah. Hit compliancescorecard.com. There's an incident response plan template out there. Also, check out IR Games from Bob Miller. Shout out to Bob, man. Again, good people. Really great. There's resources out there. So to me, the top three take like vulnerability management policy, patch management policy, incident response policy. And I like to have an incident response policy because oftentimes when I'm dealing with vulnerability management, a 0-day vulnerability exploit may trigger incident response. And you don't want that vulnerability incident to be the first time that you're like, oh, well, we don't have an incident response. We don't know how to handle this.
I love this one. Hold on.
So those would be my key takeaways for you guys.
I know we're going over, but I think this is worth noting. I'm going to put this not only in chat. Hold on. Copy, paste. You mentioned Bob. This is something that Bob put together. I'm going to pull this up over here. And I'm going to share my screen while I'm at it. You guys should go get this document and you should build this out with your customer side by each. Let me know if my screen is shared, Ryan.
It looks good. Looks
pull
good.
This up over here. So this cyber constitution, yes, we're 5 minutes over, but I think it's worth it. This document put together by our good friend Bob Miller and Eric Tildes. Eric Tildes is a great MSP lawyer. This is something that you can use today with your customer. It is licensable, for free, blah, 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 blah. It is a constitution that you and your customer can agree to with, hey, us as an MSP and you as a client, we are going to agree to do these things together over time. Remember when I said have that open and honest conversation with your customer? We're going to work together to get our act together. You'll do some stuff, we'll do some stuff, and we're going to agree to do some things. This is those things. This is that cyber constitution. You should look at this. You should approach those couple of customers together and look at this together. That would be a really good key takeaway for you guys to look at. So thanks, Bob, for putting that together, and Eric as well.
Yeah, good resource to call out on that too, Tim. Nicely said.
All right, everybody. We will see you all in 2 weeks when we're talking about everybody's favorite subject, cyber insurance, because, we haven't beat that topic up enough. I think it's important. So, hey, everybody, have a great rest of your week. We will see you all in 2 weeks from now. Thanks, everybody. Do the like, share, comment, the things I'm supposed to say. Have a great week.
Subscribe now.